Craig Griffin Universe episode #001, very first episode. And look at that joint effort.
See, I screwed it though because now you've got two slates going on different.
There you go. Teamwork. Right off the bat. That's what this industry is all about.
Tails on Griffin.
Woo! So here we are.
Here we are.
Literally the very first episode.
Literally.
With the one, the only.
At least that's all that we know of.
Gabrielle Rogers.
Hello. Hello.
And Craig Griffin, this is the Craig Griffin Universe. Very first episode. And can I say, most sincerely, from the absolute very bottom of my heart, from what Dennis Leary described as the cockles of my heart in asshole, can I just say it is an absolute true honour and a true privilege to have you as the first guest. As I was saying before we got rolling, you were kind of my dream guest. You were one that was like, I'm going to have to get a few episodes under the belt and then ask you. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just go for it. Let's just get the best on first.
Aren't you lucky that I'm easier than you thought?
Oh, so true.
I could have told you that. Could have told you that.
I mean,
loads of people could have told you that.
Well,
but you had to find out for yourself.
I don't listen to the gossip. I thought it was just gossip. There you go.
I sound really interesting in the gossip. I'm scandalous in the gossip.
So, look, I as I said, I just want this to be a conversation, and it's not planned,
that's
it's not
what you
scripted.
want it to be.
Well, that's what I want it to be. How it ends up, who knows?
Consent's important. Is that what I want?
Yeah. Well,
do I want it to be just a conversation, or am I here for a fight?
Well, okay. Look, a fight's good. I mean, hey, if we're going to go down
the
reality TV road.
Producers on standby. You know what he said about you when you were in the bathroom.
Exactly. But we'll have to do some of those shots, like on the American soapies where we back to camera and just stand there.
Yeah. Yeah. Or whispering. Effects. I like whispering behind doors, like sort of just. He said that he wants to leave the show. And we need to leave before he leaves. What do we do? Hi, everybody.
I always used to love doing that on set, and you'd be mic'd up and you'd be like, why are they all looking at us?
Yes, it's because they can hear everything that you say.
Okay. I guess the starting place for me is where we first met.
Because it's your universe.
Well, and see, that's a good point you've started on. The name implies it's all about me. It's the Craig Griffin Universe. The opposite is actually true. It's the universe is everything else that's happening around me. So it's kind of a way of saying everything else out there that's not me is what the show's about.
Nice.
It's not so much it's all about me because I'm the star.
I don't know, but because you, as the artist, you're necessarily in it.
Well, I have to be.
You're making judgment calls.
What sort of universe would it be?
What sort of universe would get me in and say, sit down and let's have a chat? Your universe is unusual.
It is.
It's an interesting and unusual thing.
It is, very much so.
I'm happy to be in it.
Oh, that's awesome. I really am. I'm so stoked. It is indeed an honour and a privilege to be able to sit down.
I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I'll take it.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Okay. Do you realise it is, I don't know exactly what day, but it's 10 years that we met. It's our 10-year friend anniversary, or what they call online the friendiversary.
Wow. Yeah, I do believe that. Now, was it at the Hub Studio or was it a ComicCon?
It was ComicCon. Look at you.
Which Comic? Was it Brisbane or Sydney?
It was Brisbane. It was 2015.
Wow.
I had a Halloween party that year, which I went as Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Nice.
And I'm like, that could be a good thing for Comic-Con. I'd never been to a Comic-Con. I've got to go to a Comic-Con, and it just ended up being that year. I'm like, well, I've already got the costume. I already had all of the gear, and I had it nailed.
Nice.
Everything was actually more or less, what he wore in the show. So I'm like, cool. So I go along to the Comic-Con in Brisbane. Got to ride off Hugh Jackman's coattails and ride off his success, which was fantastic because everyone's like, oh, can you get a photo with my child? And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? I was loving it.
Yeah.
So I guess, look, long story short, they had the booths set up. You could go along and talk to different people. So I've looked through the list and I'm like, Andrew Jack. I'm like, that's going to be cool. And, the Star Wars thing and the Hobbit thing and all of that. And it was around that time I had only been in in doing the acting thing for maybe a year. So it was about 2014 when I first started. 2013, I was kind of having a bit of an awakening and looking at the entertainment industry. 2014, I actually started to do some training and got serious about it. Then by 2015, the way it came about is part of my acting course done through the Warehouse Workshop, which you know very well.
On the Gold Coast.
On the Gold Coast at Helens Bar.
So good.
Yeah,
so good.
Brilliant, yeah. And as part of that, we had to do basically a show reel, and one of those was an animation. So we had the footage to Nemo that we then had to voice over just as part of the course. And it's funny how, you know, things work out. People were more excited about it than I was. They're like, oh, this is going to be brilliant. Craig, we've got you playing the two sharks from Nemo.
Perfect.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that'll be okay. And, like, they were all more excited about it than I was. It's like the role you were meant to play. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll give that a go. So I did that, and I'm like, wow, that was so much fun. And I'm like, I'd never really thought about the voiceover side of things. And I'm like, cool, I'll look more into that. So ended up, you know, looked online, found the course through the voice booth. That was all cool, enrolled in that, hadn't yet started. Back to ComicCon, go along to ComicCon. Hey, let's go and meet Andrew Jack. Here's his fantastic assistant. And the way it just worked out, you naturally gravitate to people. I mean, naturally, I was talking to Andrew Jack. Like, he was the one I was there to talk to.
Sure.
And, you know, I was quickly talking to Andrew Jack. The person that I was with at the time ended up talking to Andrew, and I ended up talking to you. And you know, what do you do? I've just, you know, want to be an actor, you know, and just started looking at voiceover. And that obviously pricked your ears up. You're like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, look, I've just enrolled in this course. And you're like, oh, okay, what's the course? Who's that through? I'm like, oh, it's the Voice Booth in Brisbane. And you're like, I think I'm actually
teaching
that course. I'm like, really?
Is that next Saturday?
And I'm like, really? You sure? You're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I am. That's the one in Brisbane. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you were like, yeah, I'm actually teaching that. I'm like, oh, like, and again, serendipity, fate, the universe stepping in. It's like, how bizarre is that? And that's it. Like, you and I were off chatting about this and that. And I remember something you said that really stuck with me, and even in the lead up to today, it was sort of, you know, you play things back in your head. And you were like, look, I know so many people in the industry that have been doing it for a long time, have a lot of training, supposedly be the best, and in some cases they're no better than people that are just in it, that are passionate, that have just started but are passionate about it, whether or they do or don't have natural talent. And you're like, you know, just jump in and give it a red hot go.
Hard work will outwin talent any day.
Every time, yeah. And so, look, I guess the long story short was, you know, I got into voiceover, was a voice actor for quite a lot of years, and had a really good career at it, loved it. It was so much fun, you know, and, you know, made some coin out of it, met some great people, did a lot of work, and even now I pop up all the time for people in all kinds of like corporate videos, website explainers. I did an American computer game. There's all kinds of things that
like a character in a computer game.
Yeah, fun. It was like I was playing all these Australian soldiers, and so I had to do all this like get down, take cover, come on, digger, let's go,
come on, digger, oh man,
over there,
yeah.
And they're like, can you do a New Zealand accent? I'm like, sure. They're only just over the pond. We'll give that a go.
We can culturally appropriate
that. We'll do that. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was where we first met. And
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
That's wild.
10-year friendiversary.
See, I keep remembering like last night we're just shy. So the 31st of March, well, that's 5 sentences retracted there. Just went right, pulled it right back.
Yes.
Sorry for those of you that are playing along, listening to some kind of transcript. That makes no sense. In a few days, it'll be the anniversary of 5 years since Andrew died. And I've been thinking about that number so much. We had a little gathering here of friends last night and lit a candle and had a cry and did that, and which was really beautiful. But I keep forgetting that was just when he died. There's the 6 years before that I spent with him when he was alive. Like, it's just, I've compartmentalized his death so well just to get through the last 5 years and everything else that went on in that time that was also cataclysmically challenging. And so hearing you say that this was 10 years that we were there doing that, and Andrew and I were in full flight of our relationship by then. Like, we were already arguing like a married couple by then. And so it's really lovely to remember that this man had such a big part of my life, and I had a little bit of his, and I'm so grateful to everything that he showed me and everything that he taught me and everything that he gave me. And I'm so grateful for the time that we had together. And I always will be,
100%.
I always will be. It's just, I can never thank him enough. But which is why the documentary, we're developing a documentary about his life and his work and the work and crew life. And
so exciting.
Yeah. We've partnered up with a beautiful producer in Sydney.
Oh.
And I can't mention any names, but
No,
I'm
of
very
course.
excited. So,
And look, this show's not even long enough to be able to give him. We could do you'd have to do a whole documentary. To pay the credit, where the credit is
92
due.
minutes of feature film, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that still won't be long enough. It's going to be a highlights.
I don't know.
It's going to be a highlights reel.
There's got to be a sweet spot there.
But
it'll be good because it won't just be about him. It'll be about all the other great voice teachers.
Yourself included.
Well, I'll be there by default because I'm the one carrying the roadmap. So I'm just like, look over here, and that's going to be great because as an academically inclined person, not an academic, but I like me a book and a library, and I like to nerd out on
anything.
The things that I'm interested in for sure.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so to just sort of trace the lineage and the etymology, for want of a better term, of the voice teachers, and because most of them hide behind their work so beautifully. They're so, talk about cast support and codependence, like so good at serving others. But voice teachers will publish a great book, but try and get a good interview with them, and it's not easy. They're very reclusive like that. And so even more so with dialect coaches in the film industry, they just don't want to be interviewed.
No.
And, we barely go to rap parties, which is a shame because rap parties are hilarious. But there is something kind of almost like covert Secret Service operation about not wanting to be known or something, and I think that that's great, and I can understand it for them on a personal level, but because my experience with Andrew was so acute and the shock and the chaos of it all was so acute, there is for me a need to go, okay, before I shuffle off the mortal coil, I want it witnessed. Cicely Berry, Kristen Linklater, Barbara Hausman, all these incredible teachers, Gwyneth Thorburn, let's just go on and into the great, Sarah Shepherd, all these incredible coaches, Jill McCulloch. I want Tim Monick, I want them celebrated, I want it documented in one place. These people make actors better. These people provide a service that was noble enough to be well paid, and they were well taken care of, and they were well respected when they were at work. But the sacrifice that they contributed to be in that chair all day, every day for work, for a lot of them was really complicated, and there's a lot of mess around the experience of being peripatetic like that.
Yeah.
But let's just take a moment to say, well, that's on you, buddy. Like, nobody put a gun to your head.
No.
There's a complicity there. But also, isn't that great? And how interesting. And, I didn't know that that's how you made the letter T with the tip of your tongue and the alveolic ridge. And I didn't know that was dentalized in American. There's no singular documentary about this or book about this. And that's why I am determined to get this film made.
Yeah. And I know from my perspective as someone who came in to the industry, I guess most people don't, but had no background, had no even concept or understanding of what it was about, other than, that looks cool, I like that voiceover thing, let's try that, that'll, give that a go. And a few people said that, you'd probably be okay, and your voice is kind of okay. And then you start down that road, even, when I was doing my acting training at the Warehouse Workshop, and they're like, oh, you've got that classic Australian thing where, you tend to not move your lips too much, and you sort of got that little, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have any of that. What are you talking about? That's nonsense. And then it's not until you learn what you're doing wrong that you go, oh.
Well, Wrong is a big one. I mean, everybody has an accent.
Yeah.
You know, there's not one right one, and there's not one place where someone doesn't have one.
No.
So we all do.
Yeah.
And I like the Australian accents. I think they're fantastic. You know, I come from Kalgoorlie.
Yes.
And my whole family barely moves their mouths when we're communicating at each other. So like, oh, yeah, how you going? Yeah,
There you go.
No worries.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
You know, and it's charming in its own really strange and crazy way.
And it's like they're joking. It's hot, so we have to be efficient. So we don't move our lips, and we try and string as many words together as we can.
Yep.
So it's not how are you going? It's there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good.
Little effort, maximum impact. Doesn't have maximum impact though. I'm not so sure.
Not so great for if you're on camera or if you're on the microphone.
Not a verbal culture, Australia, as much.
No.
Yeah.
So, you know, you learn the things that you taught me, resonance, using and all of these things that, and like, it blows me away. And again, we don't have long enough to talk about it, but so many, going back to the voice booth course in Brisbane.
Oh yeah.
You know, I remember meeting you at the front.
Studio, Alchemix.
Yeah.
I've done so much in Alchemix. I did the Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen. I did the Audible campaign in Alchemix.
Oh,
I hope I'm allowed to say that. They're so great there.
You can say anything on.
Shout out to Alchemix and to Andrew Nolan, the sound engineer.
100%, and voice booth.
So great.
Yeah, great. Literally, I mean, apart from some training at the Warehouse Workshop where, as I said, you know, we did the Nemo clip and that was all part of the initial training, but voice booth and the training through you was actually my first real taste of it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I get so excited about this. I've been in this game since I was 14 years old.
So quite recently.
Thank you for noticing. So from the age of 14 to 28, I was an actorian. And then after that, I switched over to the other side and have been a voice and dialect coach since I was 32. So...
Again, not all that long.
Again, just yesterday.
No.
So why do I mention that? Oh, yeah. So back in the day when I would have young people or parents come to me and say, oh, you know, she's very talented, where should she study? The answer that I gave was very different then to the answer that I give now because so much has changed.
Yeah.
And now I am just as likely, if not more likely, to suggest, especially to someone who's already quite obviously committed and capable and talented, however you measure that, by saying to them, just go and do a short course, just go and do a workshop. And it will give you just enough to know what you don't like and what you do like. And then after that, you can become selective, get a private coach, have a couple of classes. I read an interview with the beautiful, incredible, brilliant Margot Robbie, who I've never met or worked with. And she said that when she was cutting her teeth as a young actor, she would spend all her money on dialect coaches and acting coaches. And I thought, you go, girl. Thanks for the shout out.
Yes.
Because, you know, she works with Liz Himmelstein, who's a genius dialect coach in America. And Margot Robbie's work in dialect and acting generally is flawless, just unbelievable. And I'm such a fan. And to read that a young her was investing the money in that craft makes so much sense, because when people begrudge the cost of a workshop or a coach, I can't help but remind them what a degree costs.
100%. Yeah.
And all the hours that you can't earn a living while you're earning that degree. Like when we were back 1900 and frozen to death, you were never my age, right? But when we were cutting our teeth, you weren't allowed to work. You could wait tables on the weekends, but you couldn't go to auditions or do any acting or anything.
No.
For 3 years, you were locked up in tights, running around talking to yourself.
100%. There was no other way. Yeah, and again, that's before my time. I didn't go down the. I did a degree, but not in this industry.
Yeah, you don't need to do that now because everything is so much more accessible.
Yeah.
Now, is it not valuable to run around in tights talking to yourself for 3 years? Of course, it's valuable, but only if you're 19 and you're a bit lost and you don't know what you want to do with it, or if it's what you want to do, and then go find out in tights. Yeah, for sure. Or if you come from an environment where you have no support and no encouragement and no network, and you need those academies in a way to support you through your craft learning and keep you safe and healthy and well until you're ready to graduate and get an agent and go looking for work. But for everybody else who's, half smart with an iPhone and is kind of, a little bit resilient, you can get what you need to know what you need to know to do the acting thing. Yeah. As long as, in my professional opinion, you remain curious about the acting thing. Why not?
Yeah,
Why
definitely.
not?
Yeah.
The internet,
Yeah. I was going to say the College of Google has been very handy for a lot of people.
It's uncomfortable and it feels like I should be ashamed to admit it. Having said that, as a compulsive student. Like I'm always enrolled in something. Like it's a problem. I really wish I'd stop. I really wish I'd just read a book and enjoy my time.
100%. And to your point, I can actually remember you saying that to me. I remember coming onto so many of your classes. And I remember coming to, I think it was probably the last class that I did.
Was this the drop-in classes?
No, this is one at the warehouse. And it was I think it was like a day course.
Okay, yep.
And it was one that you and Andrew Jack did together.
Oh, yeah, that was rare. We only did one or two of those.
And And oh, look, it
that was magic. We
like
loved that.
Goosebumps sticks with me.
Yeah.
It's one of those days that I'm like, I could never have seen that coming. But it sticks with you. Some days really stick with you. And I remember you saying to me on the day, like, why are you even here? And you literally said to me, like, you could take this course. You should be standing up the front taking this course.
Absolutely.
And Andrew was standing next to you. I believe he was on your right to the left. And he actually paused and he looked at you and he said, you'll probably find it's, because he loves it, because he's doing what he loves doing. I'm like, yeah, for sure.
You're getting emotional.
I am. I hadn't planned on that.
You're getting emotional.
About
how great for you. What is the emotion that you're feeling right now?
Just happiness, just joy, just the blessing of having had the chance to work with him and you on the same day at the same time.
It's a bit like having the crazy mum and dad experience.
It was, very much so. And, just a day that you just never saw coming, that you'd never have known about. And, like, such, I guess, a compliment to have you say, like, well, why are you even here? What are you doing here? Like, you should be teaching this course. Why don't we go? Andrew will go and let Craig do the,
you could be.
And he was saying it's like, because he loves it, because he's passionate about it, because he wants to have as much experience and as much training and as much to do with it as he can. And he's like, that's what it's all about. Like, that's the crux of it there. Plenty of people go, I want to be an actor. It's the whole Tony Soprano thing. Everyone wants to be a gangster until it's time to do gangster shit. And it's the same thing with acting. Everyone wants to be an actor until it's time to do actor shit. And then it's
you can't eat any calories for the next 3 years. You have to do all these stunts and things.
What do you mean I have to work and train and do all these courses and
you have to
do
go to
all
bed.
this?
You have to go to bed at 5 p.m. because you're waking up at 2:30.
Yeah, but you never do. You go to bed at 1:30. You get up at 2.
Wake up at 2:30 and you can't eat any calories, and then they throw you out of the plane. Yeah, it's great.
100%. But yeah, look, that was a day that you're just having the privilege again of, the honour and privilege of working with you both, and just, it didn't matter how many times I'd done a course, just the amount of things that you can learn. Feeding back to what you were saying about should you do a degree, should you not do a degree, I think the thing is that as long as you're doing something...
Oh, yeah. If it charms you to do a degree, do the degree.
Yeah.
My God. I've got a couple. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they look great on the wall.
And the doing.
Yeah.
If, as you said, until they want to do acting shit, until they want to do... What it was, the original?
Yeah, everyone wants to be an actor until it's time to do actor shit.
And you got that from...
The Sopranos.
That's
the Soprano
Everyone wants
quote.
to be a gangster. I love that so much.
Till it's time to actually do gangster shit.
If you love doing the gangster shit of going to the studio in tights and eating canned tuna and brown rice for the next 3 years, fucking do that. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a wreck, but I needed to be, because I think, like a lot of people, acting, whilst it isn't therapy, and let's be really clear there, it can be very therapeutic.
Yeah.
And for me, there was so much self-help and personal development that I accidentally got through the engagement of the acting process that I didn't know I was going to get. I just thought that I wanted to express myself and have impact and be important and carry these great writers' stories and affect people with them and stir people's hearts up to make them better and help us all have important conversations. What I didn't realise, that in the act of learning how to be an actor and then further again still learning how to serve actors, I'm learning so much about myself and myself in the world that I never knew. And I've had more therapy than I've had hot dinners. Like, I've had so much therapy, and I'm talking high grade, like psychiatry, because I'm expensive and I'm impatient. So I'm like, I need answers.
It's a hell of a
help me
combination.
out, right? So I'm not saying that it will help you, therefore do it. What I am saying is that if you can rise to meet the mirror that the acting process keeps throwing at you, then you will obviously learn so much about yourself. And in that process, I would hope, inevitably, become a better person for the people around you.
Amen. And I couldn't have summed that up any better.
Right.
And that's why there is only one Gabrielle Rogers.
Oh,
like
you're
that.
So sweet.
If I had I couldn't have written that, but
Oh,
that's
I hope
what
you're
that's
recording.
I hope this is all working.
That was good, was it?
That was exactly that's exactly my point. That's exactly what it's all about. And that's, spoiler alert, for anyone who's considering acting or the entertainment industry in general, little spoiler alert, you won't know this going in, you will learn far more about yourself. Socrates, know thyself. You'll learn far more about yourself than you will ever learn about the industry or acting or the craft in any way, shape or form. That's the real lesson.
What a blueprint is yourself.
Oh,
what
wow.
a blueprint.
And those lessons you will carry with you forever.
Yeah.
You know, those little things that you will learn along the way, you will carry into everything you do. Even if you don't stay in the industry, if you go into something different, you'll carry that with you forever.
I think that's really valuable information too for a lot of people who are like a bit lost in terms of wanting a hobby and not really sure, and well, I'm 38, should I really, isn't that for kids? Or if there is an appropriate environment for you to explore safely the acting process, whether it's on scene work on a script or an amateur theatre company, or actually an amateur theatre company is far more hectic than just a polite little workshop with a scene in it. That's much more contained. But I would always, just piggybacking on what you're putting down there, that I would always encourage someone to do that if it charms you, because if the facilitators of the opportunity are any good at what they do, they will know that everybody there is working on different assumptions and different levels of awareness as to their process and to what's expected and what's required. So some people are there are literally to finesse one aspect of their acting craft that they want to work on. Like they're that niche, they're that developed in their awareness. They just want to work on their vulnerability, or they want to work on their breath, or they want to work, and they'll go into that workshop specifically with that point of focus. Bully for them, that they're expert, that's great. Others will come in going, I have no idea, it's just that my niece said that they do these courses and I just thought I'd give it a go. And there is a bit of a slur term in the offerings field, because I've worked in the offices that deliver these things, and I've provided, the delivery of these courses for a number of institutions over the decades that I've been working in this field. And there is a slur word that is used called entertrainment. And it's a very apt term. It is as it sounds. It's like, look, we've got 26 11-year-olds on a Saturday for 4 hours. 2 of them might be actors. The rest of them, their parents just don't want to deal with them, and they've got the money to drop them off here in the hope that they'll get off their phones for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So you've got to work to that as well. Now, you can imagine that's putting oneself in a very vulnerable position of like, well, if I'm as an adult going to something and enrolling in a workshop, what am I dealing with and who am I in all of this? And the answer is, for me, who cares? Have fun.
Yeah.
Go learn a thing.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful and so lucky that I get to watch people fail and try all the time as a coach, on Zoom all weekend,
Yes.
on film sets all the time, correcting an actor because he's literally mispronounced a word in his own language. Like he just couldn't read it right and he got the whole meaning wrong. And it should be hugely embarrassing for him in this moment, and handling it and just getting up and brushing your knees off and doing it all over again. That resilience and that playfulness, because they're not screen works, they're screen plays, right? That playfulness, that irreverence is, I think, so useful and unquantifiably helpful in any person's experience of what it is to be a human, to go and play with other humans who you've never met before in a contextually really appropriate and safe way, with the writing of the greatest writers of all time to get you where you want to go, which is clean expression of pure emotion. Who doesn't want to do that?
Exactly.
Who doesn't want to say, it was me and I loved it? Who doesn't want to say, you're fired? Who doesn't want to say, I'm sorry? With all that gravitas of a great writer building up to that moment, and to have that vocal invitation, that facility, that allowance, that literally, it's your line, it's your line, it's your line. And you've got to say that devastating thing. What a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Michelle and I were only talking about this yesterday, of the inner child, and as an adult tapping into being a child and playing. That's what it is. It's that ability to be able to play, and if you're really lucky, you'll be able to do it in front of other people. If you're even luckier, someone might even pay you to do it. And if you're really super lucky, you might even make enough money to actually live off. They're extreme examples.
There's a lot of luck involved.
But just that ability to play and have fun and to experience that. And I think they're the things you don't see coming. For me, they were the things that it was like... I think the big thing for me was like, okay, actors are the best liars, you know. Actors are the ones that can pretend the best.
Oh, if only it was so. But yeah.
And it's like probably day one. You're like, okay, the first thing you need to know is that it's all about you being truthful. And honest and open. You're like,
wait,
hang on, am I in the right room?
I came here for pathological lying. What are you talking about?
Thing?
Vulnerability and accessing my
What do you mean I have to be open and honest and authentic and what? Like, when did this happen? Is this a new thing? But, you know.
Yeah. We have a little saying on set sometimes of, you know, especially with the higher numbered actors that are living the dream and like always happy I could do this all day. Because like they'll be in, 6 hours of prosthetics and hot or cold and can't eat and for all the different reasons, like literally can't get food in their mouths with all that prosthetic and stuff and, so uncomfortable and tired and you'll just say, how are we going? And they'll just go, I could do this all day.
Loving it.
Big smile on the face. Yeah. Because, yes, it's hard, but we signed up for this, right? That's the complicity of no one's got a gun to your head. There are other jobs. There are other ways to make a living. There are other ways of expressing yourself. Write a haiku, write a haiku.
Yes.
Spray paint it on your local building and go to jail and then have a fight in there. I don't know. You could express yourself that way.
Yeah.
Please don't go to jail. But do write the haiku. And do it Banksy style beautifully somewhere where someone will enjoy it. But no, I've lost my train of thought. Old people on a Sunday. Sorry, it's gone. It's gone.
Lazy Sunday afternoon.
Just like that, it's gone.
You were saying about how people have that ability to, no one's holding a gun to their head.
Oh yeah, thank you.
They're doing it.
Thank you. Yeah, just to say that, like, yeah, look, if it is fun, and you mentioned playfulness and fun, and I don't disagree with that at all. I'm right there for that. That's the good stuff. And I love actors for being such gooses. Like we can be really silly. Yeah. And because I'm not an actor anymore, but I hang out in the sidelines and we just muck about a lot of the time.
Yeah, actor adjacent.
Hashtag. But there's also the invitation to be incredibly serious, and acting can be an incredibly serious experience in the sense that it feels very Team America, and I can feel myself getting set up. But
Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon. But in a safe environment, in an appropriate environment, allowing oneself to explore the deep and devastating emotions and to connect with an audience through showing your shame or throwing yourself into the turmoil of chaos and not knowing what you're doing and allowing that to be a shared experience so that we can all watch your chaos and not know how to help you because you're spinning out. And to be able to create that is wild.
It's bizarre. It's
so
inexplainable.
Wild, right? It's King Lear. It's wild. And it takes us somewhere that is so quantifiably valuable. Like I hand on heart, suicidally depressed as a young person in my 20s, very complicated young person, very, very sad and upset, would drag myself to the theatre, drag my $15 across the counter that I'd worked hard for, and I'd drag myself into that theatre and I would leave there completely filled with hope.
Yeah.
No matter what. Never, ever regretted going to the theatre.
Yeah.
Not once. Always came out better. Usually sans mascara.
Yes.
But that catharsis of sitting with, and in my generation it was Kate Blanchett, Noah Taylor, Geoffrey Rush on stage, Belvoir Street, Company B, every night, every week, Richard Roxburgh, like Jacqueline McKenzie, these, Carol, all these incredible actors, Judy Davis directing, Colin Friels, devastating. And I just am so grateful for that church, and now I'm completely addicted to Queensland Theatre Company. I just won't leave. I'm a limpet. I'll be at every show they put on, because what's going on in that theatre company is so exciting.
100%.
And Le Boite, I don't get enough of, but I've been to a few at Le Boite, and live theatre. Anybody, if you get the chance, get out there and do it. And again, workshops and amateur theatre. The attention economy of TikTok is so boring. It's so boring. Take a book, go sit by the river, go to the theatre. You might actually meet people. Go now and Google, what is my local theatre company? Go to your local community theatre. If you've never been, there's
do
a good
it.
one in Noosa.
Noosa? Yeah. Shout out to the Murwillumbah Theatre Company. Done a number of shows through them and just absolutely loved it. Nice. It's whilst it's still acting, and I'm saying this more for the people playing along at home, whilst it's still acting, it is a totally different animal altogether, and there is like, as you just said, far better than I ever could. The experience, it's just, whether it's in the show or watching the show, the experience is just, you couldn't even describe it. We can do our best, but you couldn't even describe it. And it's essentially...
We are changed.
Definitely,
It's that connection. It's that human... You cannot be not affected being in the space with somebody who's going through the most extraordinary story, and you get to bear witness.
100%. And it's exactly like, I'm not even fit to carry your bags out to the car, let alone any of the greats that you've mentioned. Excuse me. However, what we're trying... Well, that's... Yeah, exactly.
Travel light.
We have to. We'll get there. But the point is that it's exactly what we are trying to do here today, and it's storytelling. And it taps into that very primal, caveman prehistoric thing of sitting around the campfire telling stories, whether it was the rock art on the wall or, the passing of the stories around the fire. It's that retelling of a story that you may not have been privy to. And that's all it is. And that has evolved through Shakespeare, through theatre, through TV, through film. Not so much through TikTok. But,
I like watching the people shuffling.
That's right.
I'm always amazed at the physics of that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. They all seem to have very big sneakers.
Yeah, and they've all got 6 fingers now, thanks to AI. Not sure what that's all about. It's a bit bizarre.
They become flaming peacocks and morph into crocodiles. And
very strange.
Yeah, I try not to go there.
But yeah, I guess that's what if people watching that aren't in the industry and don't have that first-hand experience of it, then I hope they get even just a glimpse of understanding what that feels like, what that's about.
And I think that's perhaps why, this is almost contradictory to what we were just saying. I'm about to say too many people think they can do it, right? Okay, so that's an inflammatory thing to say. Too many people think they're actors. What do I mean by that? And I completely stand by, if someone wants to go and do a workshop or go to the amateur theatre company or just go to be an audience in something and find out, then absolutely yes.
Yes.
Like, there's no gatekeepers here. There's no folder holders. There's no Nepo VIP passes here. We're talking straight up communications, bare boards and a passion. And that goes for film and television as well. If you're good, you will float. Don't let that Nepo baby shit frighten you off.
Yes.
Go in. The floor is yours. But there are a lot of people who seem to want to hang on to an experience that is no longer serving them well. And I see this in a couple of people, very rarely, but just every now and then someone will flag me and I'll just kind of go, I'm worried about this person's hanging on to all their eggs in this basket. That was me. I had all my happiness eggs in the acting basket.
Yeah.
And even though my career was on the right trajectory and I was doing well, compared to all my peers, I was doing really well. I was tracking perfectly well, but I wasn't well in it, and so my experience of joy in it was not good enough for me to choose to keep going. So I was lucky. I found this other thing that I'm more devoted to, which is great. But people who don't know when to let go of something that's no longer serving them, and I think that's because when we look at acting, it's not like the cello. It's harder to measure. Like, I'm up there, I've got all the words in the right order, I'm doing it, I'm in the middle of frame, I didn't bump into the furniture. I have feelings, I watch other actors on screen having feelings, I have those, I want to express mine. again, that's completely valid. But when I work with people outside of, gainful employment, or sometimes even just on the periphery within, and they're a bit desperately hanging on to wanting it to work, but it's not working in terms of, and this is the important bit, their own litmus of what's success.
Yeah.
So for me, even though I was doing really well compared to my peers, it wasn't good enough for me.
Yeah.
So I had to go and throw that whole shaboo in the air and effectively start from scratch and start a whole new career.
Yeah.
And it took me 8 years to really show traction there. But that was my choice, and I was committed to that. And I wasn't even really that aware that it was happening at the time. All I knew was this made me happier. And I felt stronger in this than I did in acting. So that felt good enough to go with. But do you know what I'm saying? That like sometimes it's really easy for people to just flick through a magazine effectively and go, oh, well, I'm skinny, or I'm pretty, or I have feelings.
And everyone tells me I'd be a good actor. Everyone tells me I'd be good on...
I can cry on cue.
Insert show here.
Yeah, and that might be right. But also, if it's not working and you're not happy, let it go.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get a medal for hanging in. I've been doing this for 25 years and I've slaved and I've sacrificed and, okay, but if you're not happy, please.
And in saying that,
something else to do.
And I do, and look, there's situations that go...
I did.
Definitely, yeah. And there's situations that go in every direction. There are some actors that have struggled for a long time and feel like they've got nowhere, and then just got that right show, got that lucky break, or just the stars lined
Guaranteed, any actor like that you ask, they will often, if not always, say that something shifted right before then. Like they were just ready to throw in the towel.
100%.
They were just, and that moment of irreverence, or do you know what? Fuck it, I don't need this.
Just
Fuck
throw
it.
caution to the
Literally
wind.
makes them the most interesting person in the room all of a sudden.
That was the change.
Right?
Yeah.
What's that great actor in Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston? There was a wonderful interview with him, and I'm not sure about the timeline, so please don't hold me to it, but he said he got it when he realised that going to an audition was not, dear sir, dear ma'am, please, can I have the job, please? Going to an audition was, well, I'm an actor and you gave me the ingredients and I baked this cake and there it is. And then that's that, and then I leave. And after that, I don't think about it again.
100%.
My job is done. My job as an actor is to create a character, a performance out of the words that you gave me in the facts, and that's what I did with it.
100%.
Next.
Heard exactly the same thing from
wild?
George Clooney.
Really?
When I was reading an article and he'd said exactly the same thing.
Young George Clooney thinks the same thing as young Bryan Cranston.
I was probably only about a year in, and the same thing. I was like doing the audition process and trying to get my head around it, and it is a strange animal to try and get your head around. But
auditioning.
I read this thing about, Clooney said, what you have to learn, and what I learnt was that you go in, you give it your everything, you walk out, and you never, ever fucking think about that audition ever again.
Oh, my God.
Unless they call you and go, hey, loved it, you've got the part.
Yeah.
And unless that happens, don't you ever think about that audition
That's
again.
so wise.
You go in, you lay it all on the table, and then you leave, and you never, ever think about it again.
And that's got everything in it, because laying it all on the table means that you devoted yourself to the 72 hours that you had, to the preparation for that audition outside of your, Ubering and your parenting and you commit to it and you do the preparation and you get the lighting right and you make sure the microphones are working and you try and get some sleep and eat a nutrient or whatever is required, and then you get it in the can, and then you deliver it, then it's done. It's not like I'm just not going to get, but like that healthy, what do they call it? Sexy indifference. What do they call it on that great Smartless podcast with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett and Sean Hayes? It's one of my favourite podcasts in the world. Sexy indifference. It's like that sort of, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't mind.
No.
But at the same time, you can only kind of be that offhand if you really know your shit. It's like, if you're the shit, you don't need to tell anybody you're the shit.
Yeah, because I don't give a fuck, but I give enough of a fuck to give a fuck, but I don't really give a fuck.
That's it. They can see it in the work. They can see that this person knows what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a thrilling moment to get to in one's craft, because then one can choose, do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
Or am I, like Noah Taylor, going to get another tattoo because I'm quitting the industry again? I'm sorry, Noah, if that's wrong. We've never met, but I heard that was part of your process. And I just think that, getting a tattoo every time you quit the industry and then getting the makeup artist to have to cover it up when you book another gig is hilarious. It's a metaphor.
That's gold.
But I'm here for it.
The greatest actor for me on the planet, Denzel Washington, I remember him saying a similar thing, but after you've got the role, is same thing. You go, you give it your everything, you lay your heart on the table, and then you walk away after you've shot or after you've done the live performance or whatever the particular avenue is, and then you let it go again. It's now up to the editors and it's up to the publicists and everybody else. You've done your thing, and again, it's that ability to go, give it your absolute everything, and then walk away and go, I'm satisfied that I've given my everything. It's now, it's out there. It's beyond me. It's a collaborative thing.
It's Craig Griffin's universe because there's something military about the film process. We use a lot of the same terms. We use the NATO phonetic alphabet for the camera terms and things. And there's a lot of copy this, copy that, copy you, copy. We do a lot of that. There's a lot of efficiency, and systems and operations become very important. Comms are devoid of all niceties. It can be quite brutal.
Baptism of fire.
Baptism of fire. And I have so much respect and regard, and with all due respect for the people who work in the armed services, and my thank you to everybody's service. But
100%.
I do feel that, completely. And I do feel that there is a wonderful similarity in cultural language, if nothing else, and expectation, but the way that in the film industry. But what I love about that too is that it's taught me so much, having come from an education and an arts background, so sort of more academia, high school. I've taught 5-year-olds on a Saturday afternoon for 6 hours. When I was 21, I did a birthday party for a 1-year-old and their 6 friends. It was insane. They spent the whole time playing with a Twisties wrapper. Anyway, so I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, ridiculous stuff. But working in an environment that is pseudo-military has taught me how little it is about me.
Yes.
But also how important my contribution is.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I need to be on for 10 hours for that 5 seconds when I'm actually required.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the scope of my role, right?
Yes.
But I need to be there for those 10 hours because we don't know when that 5 seconds is going to be.
100%.
So that sitting there waiting and being ready to act, and then knowing what to do when called to act in what is usually a very high-octane environment of millions of dollars turning over and everyone looking at you going, well, which is it?
Yeah.
And it's like all eyes on you and everyone's cranky and tired. And you're like, it's the neutral schwa valve. And they're like, okay, carrying on. It's insane. It's comic. But I love that I've had that. Again, like acting taught me how to, be a human being. Working in film has taught me how to be a worker.
Yes.
It's taught me how to work with others because I do not work well with others. I'm terrible at it. I've been working for myself as a freelance artist since I could get away with it, because I've just never been particularly pleasant to work with, and I think that's
I disagree 100%.
Try me in an office sitch. Like, I'm a very insecure and
sounds like an entertainer to me.
Vulnerable, paranoid, overthinker, codependent type who worries that she's not doing a good enough job and that everything's her fault. So that's great for somebody who needs to be on standby for 5 seconds for 10 hours. Like, it's all my fault. I have to be ready for that 5 seconds. Like, really good, really useful. But all day, every day in an office environment, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, women especially at work, in workplaces, tend to just find me exhausting because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to fill time. So when I'm on set for 10 hours, being used for 5 seconds, I will speak so little to other people. And so many people are having little conversations, or they've got a little department and they're hanging out and they're doing their thing. And we've all got to be quiet because we're rolling, right? But you can have little moments throughout the day of conversation. I'm just this nerd with my face in my laptop and my phone. I've got 2 to 3 sets of headphones going. I've got a past client whose show has just come out and I'm listening to it on this one. On this one, I'm listening to the show that we're actually filming, which hasn't got any dialogue that I need to worry about right now, which is why I can justify this one. And around here, I've got the noise cancellers, and that's ready to go for a bit of research for something that I'm pitching for next Tuesday. So I'm just like so full and engaged and enriched with my work that I'm very happy to not work with other people. But when I have to, I'm really glad that I've learnt this quite military, and it's like hospitality as well, this quite military service provision of like, it's got to be done now.
Yes.
And there is no other option.
No.
It just has to be done now. We have to find a solution
for now.
Yeah.
Customer is hungry.
Yes.
Film is rolling.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because at the end of the day,
cooker.
it's a business. It's show business.
Big business.
You know, and there's a lot of, like you say, you know, it magnifies. There's a lot of money involved. And it's like, okay, I don't know. Ask Gabby, what's the answer? And you're like,
literally.
Yes, I am the expert and I have that answer. Here's your answer.
And they're often roided up Hollywood executives and they're all looking at me like barking at me because they're scared too. They're scared that if we get it wrong, this actor's going to be pissed off.
Shit flows downhill and...
Yeah, and just for that 2 seconds, 5 seconds of every day, it's like, it's route.
And, you know, for me, and I've spoken about this, well, again, Michelle and I were only talking about this yesterday, it's that thing where you have to just, it's almost an out-of-body experience. You stop and it's like time stands still and you take a breath and you go, it's all good. Internal conversation, it's all good. I've got this. The breath. And it just comes. The answer just comes. And it's because of your training and your experience and your personality and everything you are and the little voice in your head and everything just kind of mishmashes together. And it just...
And the 3 microphones and the 4 dictionaries that I've got on my phone.
And Craig Griffin Universe texting you to be on the show.
I love it. But that's why I love engagement with anybody that's interested in the things that I'm also interested in, because I will always learn something in that. And again, just like that little nerd, like I was that girl in the library every lunchtime.
Yeah.
You know, while the other girls were out doing ponies and I just thought they were so cute and so wonderful, but I just felt safer and more comfortable with books. And I've always been very passionate about poetry and literature, and I do think it's a changing... Well, I mean, we know it's a changing craft. Like, poetry may not ever be enjoyed the way that it used to be enjoyed.
Oh, now they call it rap songs.
Well, yeah, and that's good stuff too, right?
Yeah.
But because of, you know, that thing called the internet and AI and stuff, which, you know, I'm aware exists and is really useful, and I use it every day at work, but I do think it does... there is a possibility of the diminishment of believing anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like if somebody attributes a great quote to Sir Anthony Hopkins, I don't believe that Sir Anthony Hopkins said that.
No.
I have no reason. I've met Sir Anthony. He's a beautiful human being.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to assume that because the internet told me he said this amazing thing about boundaries and the people in your life, that he wrote that. I hope he did.
Yeah.
Because it's wonderful.
Exactly.
And I love reading it on my feed, and that's great.
Yeah.
But now that I don't do social media, praise Goddess, I just have to assume that whatever I'm getting on my phone is a lie.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good starting point.
Right? And if I cross-reference enough references that I trust, and that's good because that leads me down academia to get to sort of like, well, like, what are your sources? Is it peer-reviewed? And I think at my stage in my life and my career, I need to be that person.
Yeah.
That can't just say, well, of course it's true, I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, it was on the internet.
I have to go and do the research and the due diligence. So things like dictionaries and poetry and, you know, original copies and first editions and libraries, and I'm really excited to get old. I consider myself now in my 5th act, and I'm really excited for it because I want to be that lady in the library with her pencil jotting down notes, and I can't promise I'm going to learn how to microfiche if anybody still does that, but that always overwhelmed me.
How good were they?
Oh my God, they were wild. But if I'm saying anything, it is that the spoken word, poetry, language, literature, it's not an affectation for me. It's always been comfort and solace and excitement and bliss and joy and windows outside of, you know, for me, what was a very lucky and lovely but, you know, dysfunctional and depressed kind of upbringing. You know, a lot of people in my family were pretty unhappy, and that rubs off on you.
And
so
like
I'm
you
very
say,
glad.
it does become therapy, you know, and you don't even realise that.
Therapeutic. Yeah, it's
there is
therapeutic.
that whole side of it because you are learning about yourself, you're learning about other people, you're
hearing other perspectives.
And pulling apart, even like with characters, you're pulling apart who that character is and what it's about, and whether it's you stepping into the shoes of that character or watching someone else do it, or learning that there is a process of stepping into a character, the things that you learn from that and carry with you, you never even saw coming.
Yeah,
you know?
What's me, what's not me, what do I think about that? You know, there's this great, Dr. Mark Seaton again is this wonderful professional in our field who's interested in performing arts healthcare. And he has a paper called Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder.
Do you know,
fascinating.
I'm not going to claim that I invented that term, but if anyone wants to go back, as far as 2014, you will see that I used that term, especially when I was doing live theatre shows.
Okay.
I would actually use that term. I'd like to know when he first started using that.
Yeah, you guys need to connect. I'll connect.
I would actually use that. It's probably even a hashtag out there, but it's that feeling of finishing a show when you've spent not only weekends, but most of the nights through the week, rehearsing, talking with people, going through what the character's about, what's your take on this, what's your take on that, and you pour your everything in, especially if it's a theatre show, if it's a production, then it's a very short but very intense window.
Yeah.
You know, it could be 8 to 12 weeks of just everything, and you're living with these people, like it's everything.
Yeah.
And then it just stops.
And it just stops.
Curtain call last show and it's gone. And I actually used that exact term, that post-traumatic stress
disorder. It's totally like that. I call it post-show blues.
Yeah, 100%.
I call it post-show blues. And it is so important to honour yourself in that. So one of the things that I find so interesting about people that work in our areas as agents, as performers, as coaches, as teachers of the arts that are the performance kinds, is this idea that you just have to take care of yourself in it. You just have to take care of yourself in it. You just have to take care of yourself in it. We keep saying it. There's so much empathy and there's so much awareness, but there is also an incredible blind spot in a lot of performing artists and a lot of the supporting and allied health professionals and educational facilities around them, to just keep going, and the show must go on. That great documentary, The Show Must Go On. Yeah. Great documentary. Yeah. Shout out to the beautiful individual who made that. I can't remember his name. He was a home and away actor, and now he works with the MEAA. He's brilliant. And the Live and Up group, the mental health in the crew environments. This need to take care of yourself in it, and post-traumatic stress disorder, post-show blues, warm downs. I've instigated at Queensland Theatre Company as much as I possibly can when I'm working there. Warm downs.
Love that.
Warm downs. Because guess what? You're doing an Ibsen play, and the adrenaline by the final sequence, when she puts the gun somewhere, you're up here, and then we just go, we're going to let you listen to the foyer, your mother-in-law, some alcohol and a Turkish kebab. No, I don't think so. Now, thankfully, these professionals all know this, but it's lovely for them to have that gentle reminder while you're taking your makeup off.
That is so cool. And again, to jump back to your comparison with the military, it's a little bit the same thing. And not to detract anything from what they do, I'm not saying this is like battle or going to war, but that same thing of being in the trenches and then, okay, back into society now, and you'll be fine. You're out of battle and back into that.
Yeah, the showmans. And again, I really appreciate that you're respecting and honouring the fact that we're using the military experience as a metaphor, and that's all. And again, we're trying to be really respectful in that space.
100%, definitely.
But that same thing. But yes, it is that thing of and I think showmance is healthy too. So the military analogy is good, and also the relationship analogy is good. And of course, in a post-Me Too, post-Time's Up era, we have to be really careful about the language we use here, because I don't want to be inappropriate in any way, but it's a bit like having a relationship. You're just the showmats. It's like, oh my God, we're just like, everybody knows everybody, everybody loves everybody, everything's great for 3 months, and then you don't see each other again.
Yes.
And then you see each other maybe on the next show, or just seriously never again. And then you read in the paper that person died, or, has run off with your first wife, or, all kinds of stuff goes on. And it's this really healthy, boring, normal now in the professional industries that I'm experiencing, where, because I cut my teeth in a time before Me Too and Time's Up where it was still pretty crazy. Yeah. And now it is so healthy and so great and so professional and appropriate. And I'm really proud to be a part of the industry that was a part of that movement that made that happen. That's resulted in where we are now. Right, really helpful stuff. And of course, that pendulum is going to keep swinging away like humans do. But the idea of it being hard when the show finishes, it's like a breakup. It's like, you know, but we were doing so well. Like, why does it have
what
to
happened?
end?
Yes, was it me?
Yeah, and I remember like day 3 after a close, you know, walking home, shoes in hand, head full of champagne, closing night, 5 a.m. Absolutely, from the Judgment Bar in Sydney's Taylor Square, you know, having closed at the Darlinghurst Theatre Company or Bondi Pavilion. Just sad.
Yeah.
Just so sad. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want it to end.
You hear that story of rock stars when the tour's over and they go home and they're wondering, asking where their driver is or
Yeah.
what time their call is.
Bono's wife puts him in a hotel in Dublin for 2 weeks. Smart girl. Smart girl. And that's the thing too, like that sort of diva narcissism of sort of like dropping your wet towel in the floor and wondering why your sandwich isn't the way you want it. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Please take all of the red and the blue M&Ms out of my bowl.
Right, and they've got a really good excuse for that because they said if we see that you haven't paid attention to that, then you haven't paid attention to the safety protocols. So
Yes.
So I get it. It's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so lucky, Craig. I'm so lucky to have met you. I'm so lucky to have met Andrew. I'm so lucky to have met most of the people that I've been able to work with and learn from and with. And in this 5th act of mine, I'm looking forward to creating more easy, deliverable ways like the documentary to be able to say to people, it's this, and then leave it on people's plate to go looking for more.
Yeah.
Because my hours of being able to deliver that content are starting to wane. I'm starting to get really tired, starting to get really old, and I don't ever want to phone it in. I don't ever want to be doing it just for the coin.
And you couldn't if you wanted to.
Well,
to be honest,
I'm a pretty
you
good
wouldn't
liar.
say that about yourself. No, you wouldn't say that about yourself, but as someone who knows you relatively well, has trained with you, you couldn't do that if you wanted to. And can I just say, on that exact point...
I'm going to take that as the compliment that I suspect it was intended to be.
100%. Yeah, look, 100%. As someone who's had the privilege, and I know that you wouldn't say this about yourself, but as someone who has had that privilege of knowing you, of training with you, is knowing you as a person, is that you bring so much of yourself that's far beyond what you train people. And like the gifts that you have are truly those, are gifts. Your ability to have this knowledge, pass it on to other people is an absolute, really, really super rare gift that very few people have. To have the ability, 100%, to have the ability beyond that to do that thing of being a really rare teacher and a rare person that can actually connect with people. It's I've gone totally blank on it. The Robin Williams film, Stand Up on the Desk and Get the Different Perspective. What was...
Oh, Captain, My Captain.
Yes.
Walt Whitman's I Cry My Almighty Yorp. Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
For me, you very much had that role of being one of those teachers that people don't even see coming. They go, oh yeah, you know, like, okay, you know, she's standing next to Andrew Jack, must half know her stuff. But then, and I think the key to it is your personality is you. It's what makes you you. Sure, you've got these gifts, but it's the you part that really makes it stick. And that's the sort of thing you'd never say about yourself, and you probably may or may not even be able to see yourself. But to have the privilege of someone who's trained under you and to have seen all that firsthand, it's a true gift. And if anyone can experience that with you or with any great teacher in or out of the entertainment industry, like that stuff sticks with you. It's like that teacher in primary school. You might have had one that
Miss Dawson, year 2.
Mine was Mrs. Lenny.
Mrs.
Lenny in Northern Territory in Darwin. She was like, you know, one of those really rare people, and it sticks with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Greg McMillan, when I was at TAFE, 100%. You know, it's that you go in and you come out a totally different person, and you never even saw it coming.
Chemical, man.
Yeah,
it's chemical.
100%. And look, it was the same thing. I don't think we've touched enough on the legend that is and was Andrew Jack, but exactly the same thing.
He would hate that and love it at the same time.
Yeah, 100%.
I think
Yeah.
he would love and hate it at the same time. Because he was one of those guys who would never publish or, you know, want anything said about him or anything. But when I said, oh, look, I'm writing a biography, he was like, oh, good, I've got some thoughts and I've got a title.
Here's some notes I prepared earlier.
Yeah. And then when he said, well, why don't you talk to Robert about it? And so I spoke with Robert about it, and now Robert and I are talking about it becoming a documentary. So it's like, right, so even though you say you don't want to be the centre of attention, a feature-length documentary is okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll do that.
And if there's three
Just
parts,
that.
I mean, sequels, okay.
Lunchboxes,
if it has
T-shirts.
to be, get the key ring.
For a voice documentary, lunchboxes. No, it's not quite Avengers Assemble, but yeah.
And that crazy
close.
paradox of someone not unlike yourself who is incredibly gifted but incredibly humble at the same time, and it's a very rare combination.
I am the result of my experiences, and I'm grateful for everyone, and I'm very grateful to have a higher power, and that's only because of the people that have loved me and helped me get to where I am now. If that's a good thing, great, because I'm having a ball.
Yeah.
I'm having an absolute ball.
And paying it forward and paying it back, because
so.
then you also then pass that on to other people.
So.
And it's
Can't
contagious.
take it with me. This knowledge ain't coming with me.
No. It's contagious. Then other people spread it on to other
What
people.
I really love about you, Craig, is that in the decade that I've known you, you've never been sleazy. And that's rare in my game.
Yeah.
And I really value that. I really appreciate that. Because
Yeah.
I'm, whatever. But it's easy for a big
It's easy to be sleazy.
It's easy to be sleazy, especially when you're a big brassy broad. It's kind of like a shtick that I can easily fall into, and that can be really fun, like it was with Conan O'Brien. But then in the real life, some people think that that's kind of licensed to be sleazy. It's like, oh no, dude, we're playing. That's the game. It's not. That's for the cameras. This is not real.
No.
Right? Like we're all going home to our wives now.
Yes.
So I really value that you've never been that guy, and
Yeah.
I really value, and feel free to edit that out because that's completely inappropriate for your audience.
I really appreciate that. Again, I take that as a compliment.
It is. It's sad that it has
Yeah.
to be, said, but it's true. And I really value the fact that you're a voice nerd. You're a voice nerd, Craig. That's who you are. And
Yes.
I love that about you because I also am a voice nerd. And if
Yes.
nothing else comes out of this podcast, that I hope we can turn one other person onto being a voice nerd too, because it's a gas.
It is.
We are the punks.
Do it.
Like the movement people and the stunts people, they're all drinking green juices and getting an early night. Dude, we are on the dance floor. We are eating all the things and drinking all the things and having a whale of a time.
100%.
And guess what? We sound good when we do it.
And they're the best of the best. They are the elite. They are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. They're
Right
like
down the bottom.
The inner sanctum.
Right down the bottom, like the grid at the bottom of the percolator.
Definitely. No, that's very kind of you. And look, it is one of those industries that does have its upsides and downsides. But, again, it's coming back to what we were saying at the very start. It's about just that tapping into the you and the authentic and being genuinely you. In or out of this industry, if you can surround yourself and interact with other people that are the same, but most of all, be that way yourself.
Yeah.
It's about being in any given situation and just having a pretty good idea of who you are and what you're about.
This is again, I credit you with having an emotional intelligence and an emotional sophistication that, frankly, I've only ever seen in women.
Well, thank you.
I say that with
is one of the biggest compliments I've ever had.
Right, you're welcome. Because again, my girlfriends and I, we're all doing the work. We're all self-examining. We're always in therapy. We're always, which part of this is me? We're 12-stepping it. We're doing all kinds of things to try and understand how am I the problem? How can I make things better? And at the same time also too, how is somebody disrespecting me? And when do I need to stand up and say, that's not okay?
This is not right.
And you have always had a really intelligent litmus for that balance.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that in your family and in your circle with your friends and at work, you possibly are looked to a lot to provide the litmus of how are we all going culturally and how is this all tracking. And I hope that your voice is heard with respect and acceptance, because you do have a very good litmus, I think, for, things don't feel quite right here. You're very sensitive, is my intuition, knowing you the way that I do. And I think that is an undervalued skill, and I hope that people hear it. When you articulate it.
That is really, really kind. And I accept that for the compliment it is. And I do think I'm very fortunate, having growing up in the time that I did, being Generation X, I've seen all of the extremes.
We are hilarious.
I mean,
I love being us.
So lucky, really, really lucky to have seen Oh, we're getting the wind up.
We're getting the wind up from your producer. She's fierce.
She is. She's tough.
She's on my side.
She is.
She knows I've got a massage booked.
It's the sisterhood.
Yeah.
But, you know, having seen from the good old days, which in many cases were the bad old days.
Yeah, it depends what your experience was.
100%. You know, we were very fortunate to have seen what happened before, to have seen where we were in the middle, and like you spoke about the pendulum of, you know, where things have also swung a little bit the other way, you know, and we do struggle as human beings to find that balance. And I personally believe balance is the key to the universe. It's the key to everything. It's finding, and I don't mean the middle, but I mean where the true balance actually lies for you.
Standing on water, right? Like, you've got to find the board beneath the feet to find the thing, to go and it's never going to be static, right?
No. You know, it's about where the balance is for you, you know, and only people know that for themselves. But
every case is different.
Yeah,
every case is new.
100%. Yeah. And I think at the moment, we are heading back the other way, but I think the pendulum kind of went a little bit too far, and I think we lost a little bit of the side of keeping it real. But I don't know why it is, but as humans, we do this crazy pendulum thing.
And that's also the clickbait and all that.
100%.
But let's not talk about the internet, because we're better than that.
100%, even though this will be on the internet. Where would we be without it?
Do you know, the internet's really bad for the environment? So as an ecologically I'm trying to find excuses to stay off.
But no internet was harmed in the making of this.
Oh, well, that's very important. That's good.
Is.
I'm glad no internets were harmed. Craig, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. I have to go and have a massage now because I'm so hardworking.
Exactly, and it is Sunday. What else do you do on a Sunday afternoon?
I mean, we moved into this house a week ago, and I'm so proud of everything that we've achieved, but my fascia is fucked up. Like, my fascia is a fuck it up. It's all fucked up because I do all this Feldenkrais and I do really good stuff with my body to take care of myself, and I eat really well. But moving house, there's nothing healthy about that. It's just dust and stiffness.
Well, I think they say that it goes something along the lines of
the death
and then divorce and then moving out. I think that's the order.
Hey, listen, I've had all three of those in the last 5 years.
But what do they say?
I'm gonna get me a massage.
If it happens to someone else, it's comedy. If it happens to you, it's tragedy. You know, that's the balance. Hey, look, again, I've said this before, but I say it for a reason. It's, you know, the honour and the privilege to just be able to sit down with you. And look, I'm so guilty of letting time get away. We should have done this not as a podcast. We should have sat down and had coffee long ago. That's on me. That's my bad. Life and COVID and all those other crazy things that get in the way. But
I get it.
You know, it's been an honour and a privilege, and I hope we get a chance to do it again. I'll lock you in now for hopefully somewhere in between, but if not show 100, I'll lock you in for show 100.
I look forward to show 100.
And as many other episodes as I can possibly talk you into between now and then as well. But thank you so very much.
Craig, thank you. You're so welcome. And to your team, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do it again.
I look forward to it.
Cheers. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.